Hi, Adobe Education community. Welcome to the weekly Adobe Creative Educator Show. We're so thrilled to be here with you today. And as you're just joining in, please introduce yourself in the chat and where you're joining us from. We have a great show lined up for you today and a very special guest, Claudio Zavala, who we'll share a little bit more about in a moment. But for those who I haven't met, my name is Clara Galán, and I manage our educator community programs here at the Adobe for Education team. And we have a lot of new exciting things coming out, which we'll share in a moment. But again, if you're just joining in, please feel free to introduce yourself. I see Graham is joining us from the UK. Hi, Graham, nice to see you. And so we'll just dive right in. So for today's topic, we are going to be sharing video storytelling for social impact projects with students. So looking forward to hearing everyone's feedback and ideas as we kick off today's show. So without further ado, I will hand it off to my, hand it off to my partner in crime, Tanya Avrith, who is also on the Adobe Education team.
So hey everybody, I see so many familiar faces and lots of new faces on the chat. My name is Tanya Avrith and I work with Clara on the Community and Evangelism team at Adobe. I work as the Education Evangelist, and honestly, I'm so excited for today's guests. Claudio is almost like part of the family. He is definitely an evangelist for Adobe, being on or not being on our team officially. We love him. And so we reached out to him and said, let's get him on the show because he's already doing so many cool things. And so we have Claudio here. And if you're not familiar with Claudio's work, well, I'm going to have him introduce himself and he'll let you know where you can kind of find his work. But Claudio, what are you up to these days? Like, who are you? And let's introduce you to the world on our Adobe channels if they don't already follow you.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, thanks for having me on the show today. This is I always counted an honor to be able to chat with Clara and you, Tanya. Just enjoy. In fact, it's funny. Today is like my last day where I currently work. So I'll actually start a new role on Monday. I'll be, my official title is a digital designer. I'm going to be helping with online instruction, kind of creating like best practices for an engagement online. So for those of you who maybe know, I have a YouTube channel, and it was one of the things that they saw my work. We want that type of engagement when teachers are online. So can you help? And I say, yeah, I'll be. This is exciting, and it's just up my alley, and enjoying doing that, and always talking about storytelling. So I'm looking forward to the chat today about talking about storytelling. So super pumped about today.
Claudio, did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that like having your social media presence, like putting your stories out there would land you like really almost like the perfect job? I mean, like that's such a cool, first of all, what's your title again?
Digital designer.
Okay.
So cool.
Guys, that is it.
Yeah.
That is it. That is the title moving forward that everyone wants now. Forget tech this, ed tech that. No.
Yeah.
Digital designer. I love this.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. As I always say, it's. I was talking with a friend yesterday. The door opens, and you're just going to go through that door and just take that journey and see where it goes. Where the next one. I'm not saying there's going to be another door like right away. I'm just looking. Open door, go through it, and then explore. And when I first started using social media, I never thought, that it would be where I'm at right now. I think one of the things was just, and if you're listening, it was really about taking a risk and just taking the step. And, people were sharing with me, you've got some great content, you should share it out there. And you're always worried about being afraid. And I was like, well, it's better for me to tell my story than someone else to tell it. So, that's what it was. We took a step, and here we are.
Yeah. And speaking of storytelling, I know that's something we're going to focus on a lot today, with video in particular. For those who haven't joined our show before, we have the creative process, which we always review. So that process is define, create, reflect. So we take 10 minutes for each section. And for the creation portion, we'll have a hands-on piece that Claudio will share through Adobe Spark Video. But looking forward to that as we move forward. So Claudio, just to kick it off, we've had a really big focus on distance learning, throughout a lot of our show and all the content that we're sharing. How has that transition been for you? How has it kind of shaped your strategy of how you're reaching, different educators and students?
Well, within the district I was working at, it was the shift to, training, which basically was working with educators and helping them use different tools to basically, it was almost like a train the trainer. So training them, showing them different tools, and then they in turn would go and work with students. So it was, it was a challenge in a sense that, maybe, and I think for many, we just weren't prepared. But I think teachers were hungry for learning, like, I want to be able to do this. So, and they were soaking up the different approaches, the different ways to engage their students virtually, as opposed to being in person. I don't think it easily translate what you do in person to online. You have to take different approaches to keep them engaged, and maybe do some icebreakers and in between stuff. And I've heard of people doing, okay, hey, let's stop and do like a little dance right now. Let's take a little dance break. I'm thinking now maybe get one of those disco balls in your class or in your office if you're going to be doing virtual, and just say, hey, let's do a disco dance right now. Turn on the lights. But yeah, and you're just taking the approach of, how am I going to engage and teach the students virtually, and what tools are out there for them to be able to create and share and assess as well.
I know you do a lot of work with video as well. I mean, that's kind of like, I mean, look at your background right now. I don't even know where to begin. If anyone is watching this, don't you have like Claudio goals of like lighting goals, hashtag Claudio lighting goals? Those are pretty much like in my life. But like, I do love your tutorials, the ones that you post. I love, like, they're super practical. I love the way that you pull video pieces together. And so when you're talking a lot, you definitely talk a lot about video and that as a medium. So what do you find, what do you think makes video a unique medium in storytelling?
Well, I think for the most part, first of all, I mean, I have my own daughter. She's now a junior. She is on YouTube. She is on, different social media apps and watching content, learning how to think. She loves to cook, so she's learning different recipes, and we all sit and watch, Bon Appetit, and learning about different foods and stuff. I think it's just the entertainment sometimes is there, and it's we're engaging. But I think the key thing is it's chunked out into pieces. It's not, as different from watching like a movie that's like 2 hours long. You might not want to sit through a lesson for 2 hours long, but it'll be chunked up into little bite-sized nuggets. And I think that's what works in that virtual world and in the video as well. I think that's why, like, my videos that I create, I try to do them within a certain time frame. Because if it's a little too long, people may like, I got bored, or it's just, you're kind of competing with other, quick stuff. So you're trying to do it within a short amount of time, trying to get as much and really just get to the nitty gritty of it. I think that's the power of with video in this kind of YouTube world and a virtual world. I think if you get to the point quick, that's what people are looking for. Like, how do I change the oil in my car? It's like, I just need to know quickly.
Yeah. Those quick tips for video. And I know there's a lot of different tools out there for storytelling. So obviously, even within Spark itself, there's Spark Post, Spark Video, Spark Page. What makes video so powerful and unique as opposed to, a stagnant image or, you know, a web page?
Well, I think definitely it's the motion, the images are moving. I think that's first of all. There's been some kind of research as far as marketing, as about looking at a static image and a video. People will most likely look at a video and think, even though it may be maybe 15 seconds long, but it's just that motion in the video. That there's maybe some interaction between the characters in the video, and there's maybe giving a story. Whereas if it's just static, even though you can tell a lot by just an image, I think just the video just captures people's attention.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like, I love, we see James on there, right? James saying attention spans keep decreasing. Average YouTube watch time is 5 to 7 minutes or something. And I think with younger kids, well, actually, that's kind of interesting because my son, who has like no attention span whatsoever, he'll watch like these 20-minute like YouTube videos, but they're like very fast paced. It's like the way that they, you know, and he'll religiously watch them. Like he likes these family channels where like the father has like his kids on there and they're like do crazy challenges. So it's very interesting. I think it really depends on like the medium, right?
Yeah.
And like the way that the story is being told, which I think is an interesting kind of like, I think it's really an interesting kind of like thought process as we're thinking about like the way that we are teaching storytelling and visual storytelling. Do you like, what are some high level tips you think that you could like say for students to use when they're creating videos or video storytelling? Like what kind of techniques would you kind of share with teachers to give to their students?
Well, first off, I think it's important for the student's voice to be heard in the video. So if you're capturing, whether you're using like a mobile device or a camera, I think if the student's voice is heard, I think that's one of the huge important things, is for us to be able to hear them, for them to be able to share their story. So even if it comes to the form of like narration, and they may have some kind of B-roll. So B-roll is kind of like, you're taking kind of a shots of kind of an environment. So if you're in the classroom, let's just say like the students are kind of interacting, maybe you're taking a video of students playing in the playground, or maybe working on something, maybe having interaction with the teacher, and then you're hearing a voice over that video. So just kind of like, but you're still hearing the voice, or even just looking at the student, maybe taking a selfie type of video, them sharing their voice. I think it's a great, powerful way. So, you know, we're able to hear the student, whether and as well see them, or hearing kind of in a voiceover. So I think it's important to capture being able to the student to share their actual voice.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of some of those tips, we'd love to, you know, dive right in and see it in action. So for those who are watching live, if you have Adobe Spark Video, now's the time to log into your account and get that up and running. But we'll move to the second part of the show. So again, the creative process of define, create, and reflect. We're going to move to part 2, which is create. And Claudio, I'll just have you share your screen here.
Yes.
For that activity.
Awesome. So I'll run through some tips when I'm working with a Spark Video. So if you've not used it before, when you land on this page, you'll see the button on the top left. So basically, you can start off with pretty much any type of project, flyers, and posts, which are images, and then you create a web page. So we're gonna look at the video portion. So we'll click here. So if you actually have a device like an iOS device, there's separate apps that you can download. The Spark Video app. It's great. So here, usually what I share, you'll come up with this little landing page. It's like, what is your story about? One of the things I share with educators and students, like, you may not know right now what your title is or what your idea is, like specifically. So what I usually just say, I usually say, just skip that first part and get to this next section. And this right here, to me, is one of the greatest like tools or features within Spark Video. Is sometimes a student or even a teacher will have a hard time thinking, like, what kind of a story am I going to share? I don't know how to get started. I don't know how to put the pieces together. Starting from scratch, you basically you're going from scratch. You have a blank slate. But these right here, these templates, basically, when you're looking at it, for example, let's just say I want to share a hero's journey. So if I pick this one, so I'll go ahead and just pick this one here. And if you see the other ones, will do the same thing. But when you say pick this one, it's going to open up and it's going to give you kind of like a shell. And so what I share with students and teachers, like, if you have a hard time thinking about how to get started, use the templates. Those are there for a reason. Take advantage of them. And so here we are with the template, and then down at the bottom, I'll let teachers know. I kind of talk about this as the playground, as your sandbox right here. And down at the bottom, as you can see, there's a setup, and down here it says call to adventure. There's a challenge. There's a climax. So giving you the pieces of a story to tell a story. So you don't have to worry about the actual putting it together, in a sense. You have the story, but it's kind of put together for you. So now you just kind of add the content there. And that's what I like about using Spark Video, as opposed to other ones that you're kind of starting completely from scratch. With Spark Video, you get this kind of help with the start. And if you see here, it says, tell us about the hero and their world before. Let me reread that. Tell us about the hero and their world before the quest begins. So here, if a student is telling the story, in the sense, maybe the student themselves is the hero. And so we have an option to add video, text, and photo. So let's just say, let's pick photo. You can upload from pretty much anywhere, your computer. You can find free photos. I'm going to go ahead and look for a free photo. I was
just going to say, I love how all these free photos too, this is in the Adobe library. So you can use them. They're licensed and are appropriate for all age levels.
I want to say this also. I've been working a lot this last few days with some teachers, middle school teachers. It just so happens that there are a lot of English language arts teachers that I have been connecting with. And it's interesting because even my child, who's a middle schooler, she has been doing a ton of like remote learning, and I was talking to these teachers, and I think what's happening now are teachers are realizing, like, I can't just have my kids like do things where they can easily Google the answers.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just like, even like teacher pay teacher stuff, like that stuff has to get more complex. Like if it's just Googleable kind of worksheety kind of stuff, like, and that's what you're asking from your students. Like, we've been saying this a long time, but I think now it's really catching on, like, ooh, like this kind of information on the internet is not valuable anymore. And so like, this is such a great opportunity to be able to get kids to demonstrate their learning and be able to explain their thinking processes, adding their voice. Like, you can't Google that. And then you have to be able to pull information. You have to be able to synthesize it. You need to be able to find keywords if you're thinking about images. Then you need to be able to articulate your understanding and talk through your thinking by explaining the parts to make sense of the story. So this is such higher level thinking that is required from your students. And I love, like, I use things like Flipgrid in my class. I use other things, but what's nice about this, wouldn't you agree, Claudio, is like, this is like, it's not just a one-off, like you have to plan. So this is a great example of like a demonstration of learning where that's more than just like a quick formative check-in, but like really requires a lot of thought process to complete. So anyway, that's just, I think this is necessary now, like more than ever.
100% agree with that. Yeah. And you're going to focus mainly on putting that story together. And like you said, you're not going to Google yourself. I mean, I guess you could, but who's going to know better about you than yourself? If this is something you're sharing, your story. So let's just say if this is going to be like, I'm going to talk about my journey. So the hero is actually the student. So I'll just say I'm going to talk about myself as I'm being the hero. So I started off with like, this is like the journey. And so this took great images here that you can use. And they're all royalty free ones. And you have options if you want to make that picture smaller or larger and move it up or down. I love this like road shot right here. And then you have your button here to add some text. So here's my title. I'm actually going to call this my journey. And I don't think based on time, we may not get to finish the whole story, but we'll start it. And what I love about this now is that you can move this text around like that. Just great. Put it up there at the top. And then here's the awesome, the extra awesome stuff here. That button right there. So if you're not used Spark Video, this right here, this is where you can add your literal voice. Let's make sure I get permission from my microphone. Hold this down. And what's great is if you make a mistake, you just let go of it and start over. So it's nice work. Okay, I'm going to try again. Let me share with you my journey. A story. Oh, right here. I messed up. Let's start one more time. Let me share with you my journey by Claudio Zavala. There we go. So we hit play. Hopefully you can hear it. So I think it needs some permissions here. Oh, I guess because we're streaming it, maybe didn't want to.
No, because what could possibly go wrong in a live stream?
I know, huh?
No, it's always
At all.
This virtual stuff. What's going on?
it's like the classroom. Plan A, Plan B.
I also
Go
think, like,
on.
you know, we're like, I think, you know, we really need to reevaluate also our curriculums as we come back to school. I think like over the last few weeks, we've really seen more than ever now an importance for kids to be able to have a platform to have voice and choice.
Yeah.
And we need to be culturally responsive, culturally relevant in our classrooms. And so I like, you know, any tool that empowers kids to tell a story, to tell their story, to be able to identify stories, to be able to argue, to be able to have a platform to, you know, that really does, like, that gives it like the beauty that it deserves. I think is something that is more important now. I mean, it's always been important, but like, I'm hoping now that we're going to see that shift and the importance in our classrooms as well to have culturally responsive curriculum that's looking at, you know, every learner in their class and meeting their learners where they should be. So anyway, that's my little soapbox.
No, I think that's 100% agree. I think, well, so, you know, COVID kind of forced us all inside, you know, to be at home and learning. And we saw like this, not many students were able to do a lot of these things because the access wasn't there. So I make sure, and I think like what you're saying, I totally agree, is like coming out of this, you know, I don't know, eventually when completely 100% out of COVID, but as we progress out of it, like we're saying, okay, we need to have those tools, like you're saying, provide access to, so that every student is able to create and share their voice. And it's not just like a small group that's sharing their voice, but like everybody can share their voice. So basically what I would do is continue. So if you see at the bottom of here, I have like kind of somewhat kind of walk through here. So basically I can go through and repeat the steps for each of these. So usually what I get to the point in my sessions with the educators is, you know, if you don't have something to share at every screen, what's great about Spark videos, like you can delete what you don't need. And if it's just a few, because there's nothing that says that your story has to be 10 frames long. Your story has to be so long. It's like, my story, maybe it's just going to take a few frames, but that's what I want to share, you know? So I think that's the flexibility of this as well that I love. And then some video here. So if you can bring in video now, I mentioned about the app, you can record right within the app. So if you have a mobile device, which I love, you can just record it and bring it right in. So if you haven't tried out Spark Video, definitely, it's one of the great things about it, it's free too.
Free is always awesome.
I say $3.
Yeah, no,
$3.
and it's also the only free video platform that you can use on a Chromebook as well.
Yes.
So, and most of your schools, a lot of school districts all over the country, and some, I'm very excited, like I can't say yet, but some very big ones also, you know, are going to be moving in this direction. So yeah, so like this is becoming more and more available because schools and districts recognize the need for kids to be able to have creative tools to share their stories. This is so important. So Claudio, we're in the reflect part.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to be reflective. Actually, there's this. I like this. I like this comment. Well, we'll show it in a bit later. It's right here. The teachers I work with have been asking for help keeping their kids engaged during remote learning. They're beginning to understand that the engagement they saw in their classroom was often actually just compliance. I don't know who said that because I don't see your name here, but like, yes,
true.
And I'm seeing that a lot more now with teachers who are realizing, and then it's great. Like, I don't see this as a bad thing. I think it's like, this is what needed, like, it sounds terrible.
Function. Yeah.
We needed to kind of have a bit of a shakeup in education. We've been saying it for a long time, but I think now there's really a call to action, and this is going to be hopefully a new normal moving forward.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're ready to reflect.
Awesome.
Perfect. And I know, and speaking of that, I think that's just so important of what you can do with your students too. So to have them go through that whole process, you know, having that creation piece, having that hands-on component, and then making them reflect on their learning and share with one another.
This is just good pedagogy. Like, it's super simple, but like kind of having that framework around like, what are we learning? You know, exploring what we're learning. Let's make meaning of what we're learning. Let's create and show what we know.
Yes.
And then let's be reflective. And it shouldn't end. It should almost be go back to the creation. You know, like it could go backwards and forwards in this model.
I think it's like the simplest way to create a lesson plan. I think I would definitely use that format. Like,
right? Define, create, reflect, and then go back to create.
Not to say the other ones aren't good, but yeah.
And I think, I mean, there are so many different iterations of the creative process, and we looked at a few. This is like the, you know, simplified version. But I think we'd love to do that with each and every one of you who are tuning in live, or if you're watching the recording, you can post your answer in the chat. But first, how do you encourage storytelling with students? And so especially as you're in distance learning, connecting with students at the end of the school year, for those who are in this hemisphere, how has that process been like? So I'll take a moment in the chat to see, how do you encourage storytelling with students?
And I know there's a bit of a delay. So, you know, if you're watching, we'd love to sort of hear what you have to say. And in terms of how you're encouraging, or how maybe how you plan on encouraging. Maybe that's something that you're going to kind of look at and re-examine for the new school year. So we'd love to kind of hear from you. I know that we're almost at time, and I want to make sure also, as you're thinking about your reflection question, that you are also reflecting with us. We have an Adobe Lives.
Adobe Lives.
Adobe Lives. So we have an Adobe Lives. Do we have it here, Clara? Yeah, we do.
I've got it. Here, let me move this banner.
So
by the way, I love StreamYard.
Yeah, same here. So we have an Adobe Libs, and we're gonna share the link as well. It's bit.ly/Adobe Libs. Super easy, and we'll put it also in the chat. But so you're reflecting, and as reflective practitioners, it's really great to be able to also make your thinking visible and share it. And so what we've done is we've created this remixable Spark template. So the bit.ly/Adobe Libs will take you there. It'll force you to remix the template, and we would love to see your reflection and for you to share it on social with us. And so, we're super excited to hear from you and see what your thinking is. So, yeah, please go ahead and share your thinking there as well.
Okay. And we love seeing, if you share it with the hashtag Adobe Edu Creative, we'll see it in our feed with our social channels. So we'll be sure to retweet you and share those out with our larger community.
And Claudio will as well. No question about it.
Yes. I'm like thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
And it's such a great exit ticket too, I think, for this show every week. So we look forward to seeing everyone's.
Well, not for anything, people. I almost think like at some point I'm going to have to show everybody how to create a remixable template.
Yeah.
Or maybe, Claudia, do you have a YouTube video that does
Guess
that?
what?
I feel like you probably already do.
Guess what? It's coming out.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, so Claudia will have how to create a remix. But that's a great way to, even in your own class, to create exit tickets. Create a remixable template. You have to create it on iOS, on your either on a phone, on your iPad. But you can create a remix. It gives you a link, like we just did, and you can use that as an exit ticket. Put it in your Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, and have kids share their thinking. All right. So did we have any? I'm curious if we had any.
There are some comments in here. So first off, let me scroll up here. Hi, Graham. Nice to see you. So Graham, who's one of our new Adobe Creative Educators. So part of that, and that's coming soon, by the way. Our Adobe Creative Educator program is launching in July. So you'll get the announcement and party that we're live streaming too. But he says balance of teacher modeling, peer design, as well as use of ed tech tools to remotely share. Awesome.
Love that.
And we have two more here. Mike, hey Mike, says, in my photography class, I encourage my students to photograph a wide angle, a medium shot, and a close-up. Tension builds as the camera moves in tighter, so the next image needs to release the tension. Wide, medium, tight is a kind of visual sentence.
I love that.
Cool. And a couple more. James, who is on the Adobe team and also an educator. A great resource for storytelling is a book called The Writer's Journey, which uses the different stages of the hero's journey in teaching how to tell stories that are engaging. Depending on the level of the learner, it could be used as a resource itself, or teachers can use it to pull from creative lesson plans.
Really. I'll have to check that out, James. That sounds awesome. And Kamala's here. I love her. She comes to everything.
Kamala, I see you on Twitter all the time too. She says, building stories as a class where each student keeps the story for a day and builds up on what has been created by the previous student. I love that idea. Such a collaborative thing to work on.
That's fantastic. I love that. My son, who's 8, loves like when we do like I, and then he goes wind, and then like we go back and forth.
Cool.
That's creative. I like that.
I love that. That's a great idea. Well, Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who came out today and who's joining us on the interwebs, on the social medias. So we know for some of you, you're on summer break and you're kind of hungry for learning. We do have some great learning that's going to be coming out over the next few weeks and that we'll be announcing. I know that, do we have signed up yet for the Adobe Summit?
We will next week.
Okay, so
next week.
Yeah,
so save the date.
Be on the lookout because we have our Adobe Education Summit that would have been in person, but we've removed it to a remote environment. We actually have the team from Adobe Max who are producing it, so it's gonna be off the hook.
Yeah.
We have a live DJ set, like a virtual DJ set. We have a SmackDown. We've got breakout sessions, product teams. It's going to be awesome.
Like if you've never been to an Adobe Max, our virtual event will be pretty phenomenal. So please, mark your calendars. We're going to have the signups for it next week, but it's a 3-day event. I mean, obviously you can pick and choose, but it's going to be amazing. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout are we announcing the date yet for when we are launching officially the Adobe Creative Educator program?
Early July.
Early July, people, early July. So it's coming
after the holiday.
And we will have another show, but I have some like really cool integrations that are popping in. And I don't want to say yet, but I'm going to hint at some like seriously cool stuff that's going to be happening in a few weeks. So be on the lookout because it's coming.
Nice.
Awesome. We're so excited for all of that. And thank you, Claudio, so much for joining us today. I feel like every time I meet with you, like I learn something new.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Really appreciate sending our virtual hearts. And then for those who are watching and they want to connect with you, how do they do that?
Yeah. So if you follow, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Claudio Zavala Jr. And then you can check out my website, iamclaudius.com. And you can also find me on YouTube /IamClaudius as well.
Yeah, Claudio's got good stuff. You definitely want to be subscribing to his YouTube. I learn so much on it all the time. This is where I go to get all my information. So definitely follow Claudio. And thank you, Claudio. We love you so much. So much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining, everyone. We'll see you next week. And next Thursday, we'll be on at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time with some folks from ISTE. So Greg and Carmelita will be talking about ISTE standards and how to use those creatively in your classroom. So
that's how I designed all of my curriculum. So you definitely want to be there for that. It's really good stuff.
Cool. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching. Click the link in the description below to explore more free online professional development, and click the link on screen to subscribe to the channel for more videos.